Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well. And today, my friends, we're back with a showdown between Nurgle and Khorne. It's going to be myself versus Hadri's Festus the Leech Lord against Valkia the Bloody. So let's get this party started. Great excuse to bring some Chosen. That's my favorite thing about playing Khorne. I think they're really fun to play against in general. They just have like cool, dynamic, aggressive tactics, so it really makes for an exciting game. But on top of that, against Khorne, you can bring elite units and they actually do well, which is really exciting. So in the back, we have two Chosen of great weapons, and these guys are absolute monsters against Khorne. The one thing you have to watch out for, of course, is Exalted Bloodletters and Basic Bloodletters. They trade really well in the Chosen of Nurgle, but if they don't bring those, these guys just go Super Saiyan and will pretty much always get over 1,000 value, and they will not be messing around. So we have two of those backed up by Festus. You know, Festus, Mortis Engines, he heals, all that sort of good stuff that elite infantry love. Exalted Plague Bearers for the Holy Hand Grenades. So Nurgle doesn't really have good SCM punishment, so if they came in with like Minotaurs or big targets, I would struggle. So I wanted to bring some Unholy Hand Grenades here just to drop some globes or Walmart globes. Hey, man, if they gave Nurgle like something close to Skaven Globadiers, I'm not talking as OP as they are, but something close, that would really help them out quite a bit. But anyways, on the back, we do have the Barons of the Bog, and these guys are cool. They're the countermeasure against the, look how happy this guy is. He's just totally dancing up there. But they are the countermeasure against Bloodletters. So if your opponent comes in with Bloodletters, these guys are a hard counter. They do magic damage, bonus for infantry, they're large. They really wreck them. And of course, Barons of the Bog have a ton of stat reductions. They lower mass, damage, all sorts of good stuff. And yeah, they're just a cool unit in general. Festering Stooges on the far side. My overall game plan is to control Objective 3 with my Blob, and then control Objective 2 with some elite units that are going to be very tough to remove. So for the Great Hadri's on the other side, it is going to be a battle line of Chosen of Khorne, backed up by Minotaurs, and a bunch of Marauders, Valkia, Marauder battle line. So just going for width and kind of objective control, and Khorne Marauders do trade reasonably well against many of the baseline Nurgle stuff, like Plague Bearers, and I guess Plague Bearers would probably be pretty good against them, but like Nurglings, and they just have good DPS in general, so they know how to party. One thing I gotta watch out for, though, is Valkia. Valkia is certainly a character that can really hunt down Festus and give me a lot of trouble. So we'll do a little bit of fast forwarding as the two armies posture into position here. The forces of the Blood God and the Plague God getting ready to party. And one of these days, I'll crack the code on Nurgle. I know they're considered to be the worst faction of the game, but man, like they have so many good mechanics. Like, why can't we get there? I feel like we're so close. But against Khorne, I actually think it's a 50-50 matchup. Nurgle doesn't have too many good matchups, but against Khorne, I think it's very fair. I think either player can win. Just comes down to decision making and you know, where you place your units and all that sort of good stuff. So Chosen of Khorne gonna just absolutely handle these Marauders here. This is gonna be bully beatdown time. They are huge, although honestly they look about the same size as these Marauders. They should definitely be a little bit more hulky, but even still, the Marauders are getting absolutely slapped. And Valkia with Sleipnir does do some decent damage, but doesn't kill any models off the Chosen. And now that Big Daddy Festus is nearby, he's gonna be giving the healing elixirs, which in conjunction with their high melee defense will probably help them to outpace some of the damage those Marauders are doing. Now, some Furies coming in as well. Horsemen, of course, being chased by them. I think that's what they were coming in for. On the other side, we do see a bit of an aggressive dive here from the forces of Khorne, getting their Minotaurs, but I do have the Festering Stooges in tandem with the Barons of the Bog, going to be lowering the stat line of these Minotaurs, and we pull back the Barons. They'll then jump over here, and Festering Stooges are such a good unit. They honestly, they resurrect, they heal, they have insane stats. I think they could probably 2v1 a Minotaur as well as a Marauder. Now, as far as the value trading goes, it's pretty even, which is a very good thing for Nurgle. With my healing being taken into account, that's pretty big. One thing I do have to watch out for in this game, of course, is the issue of being outmaneuvered on the objectives. Like, for example, you know, though I am trading evenly, he does have a double cap on me. As a matter of fact, a triple cap, so that's kind of the issue we run into. Now, at the back, Marauder Horsemen do take down those Furies, and Exalted Bloodletters were summoned in from reserve, so really good play there by Hadri's, but I had to respond with the Fleshy Abundance. I was like, okay, I don't want to be losing my super elite troops here, and they will get through these Bloodletters. Bloodletters are kind of like glass cannons a little bit. In the meantime, Valkia the Bloody going to be hunting down Festus the Leech Lord, who is going to be trying to get away, but certainly not a great fight. Granted, Valkia is anti-large, and despite Festus's appearances, he is infantry-sized, so, you know, not the worst trading in the world. Minotaurs, of course, trying to dive into my backfield, but that's what the Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes are for. Pretty good against the various Khorne Minotaurs, especially considering Khorne Minotaurs do have 70 armor as opposed to the 30 of basic Minotaurs. And it looks like we're finally going to be able to wrestle our back objective as the Plague Toads are able to really cut through a lot of these Marauders. And value trading is, yeah, very even. A lot of the value my opponent has gotten is probably on your boy Festus. Festus is going to be retreating back through his Plague Bearers, trying to get away from Valkia. And Valkia doesn't have the best mass. She's a very good hunter, but she is a character that can often get stuck on units and get a little bit trapped up here. Meanwhile, though, the Chosen just absolute raid bosses. I mean, this is their value, so with this Spectator mod, the value you're seeing here isn't their kills, it's actually the damage done. So these Chosen haven't quite paid for themselves, but they're fighting essentially a hard counter. Two hard counters at a Minotaur, as well as some basic Marauders just to kind of buffer off against that, and they're still generating good value and really holding on like champions. I really love chosen units. In the meta of, Dwellers Below and Pit of Shades, all these different things, elite units are, usable, but generally speaking, it's a very, very risky endeavor, and, it can pay off if your opponent misses. You're able to dodge it immediately, depending on the circumstances, but typically, you're just going to be at a bit of a disadvantage. But again, in this matchup, you get to party, which is great. Now, Festus is in some danger. He's on the run, and Valkyrie the Bloody's coming in with her spear. A much better fighter, better stat line. She's armored. Festus does lack armor piercing. So we just have the healing elixirs popped and just trying to survive, basically, because losing Festus would be a huge blow. But we do pull ahead by about 700 value. These Chosen are just going crazy, dude. These ones holding on. The other ones up to 1,500 value, so they paid for themselves, and they're going to be able to pile in and take down these Exalted Bloodletters here. And now in the backfield, ladies and gentlemen, the heavy hooves of the Plague God. We do get the Chaos Knights of Nurgle coming in, and these are one of the coolest looking units of the game. I wish they were a little bit better, but honestly, against Khorne here, let's look at this objectively, really. So Chaos Knights will be good against Fleshhounds. They'll be okay against Minotaurs on the charge. They'll be good against Marauders, Exalted Bloodletters. Will not be good against the Halberds or basic warrior variants, but there's a lot of things on the Khorne roster that these Chaos Knights aren't terrible against, right? So not too shabby. As we do buckle off the Minotaurs, my Horsemen are going to be pulling back. Chaos Knights will be taking over the mantle and doing battle with these Marauders, and Valkyrie the Bloody is going to be retreating, not wanting to get trapped up and maybe throwing axe into oblivion. So back objective is under our control. We have the Festering Stooges back here, regenerating and holding that down. Demon's View, yes. So the Arwar Forsaken, pretty solid unit. Nurgle Forsaken in general aren't bad. Having a quick unit on Nurgle's roster is pretty good. But the Festering Stooges are, not Festering Stooges, the Barons of the Bog are really the breadwinner here. Their anti-infantry bonus against the Exalted Bloodletters in tandem with their magic damage, surpassing the physical resist. Also getting in there and taking down these Chaos Furies is very, very cost effective. And they look super cool. So I think they got a place here. I think they're living their best life. Anti-large Minotaurs coming in, though, not going to be good. Great Weapons do really good armor piercing as well, so they'll be excellent at taking down the Forsaken, so just trying to get as much value as I possibly can, but these Exalted Bloodletters are quite elite, and with the Horn of Khorne active, they are able to cut through my Forsaken effectively. However, we do get the side objective, up by about 600 values. Not a ton, but with our healing taken into account, it's even more of a substantial lead, but Khorne is really good at getting isolations and picks and things like that. Festus, of course, can't be everywhere at once, so even if you are ahead in value with Nurgle, you have to be really, really careful to not get your objectives jumped. And this is quite a special map. If we were on a map like Black Ark, for example, it'd be much harder for your opponent to bounce between points, but something I really like about this map is how it encourages like a different kind of style of play in which you can bounce between objectives really quickly. It's very maneuverable, it's very fast, which, they're also close together, which is good for Nurgle, but on that same note, you can get objectives stolen pretty quickly. So Forsaken trying their best here. And the Festering Stooges, I did pull them up from the back objective. Figured I'd come in here and try and target them on their home objective there. So let the Festering Stooges feast. That is for sure. Looks like Hadri's going to be banking some resources up to 850 to my 465 at this point. And we just have some Exalted Plague Bears holding here, Festus, and the Exalted Hero characters are on their way out. So I do have 2 Exalted Heroes on this army. On the Chariots, I figured they'd be pretty good against infantry, which Khorne loves to bring. Granted, Minotaurs are a bit of an issue for them, but hey, let's get them out here, let's party, and see if we can get some map control. Because Hadri's did get some nice value over here. His Exalted Bloodletters have been big breadwinners for him this game. Here, they're going to be taking down my Plague Bears. I wonder who would actually win in a straight fight. I feel like if you got the Holy Hand Grenade salvos off, the Plague Bearers might be able to win the Exalted variant, but in a straight fight, I think the Bloodletters should win. I mean, magic damage bonus for infantry. They just have too many things that are really conducive to taking down such a unit. Up here, a couple Marauders looking to try and get that side point. My Horsemen are out of ammo. It's always a bit of a conundrum. Do I unsummon them and get them back to make sure I have that DPS at a distance, or do I just use them to run things down? At this current point in the game, I'm just using them to run things down. At the current rate, I will win on 2 objectives. I'm pretty substantially behind. I would win in 9 minutes and 56 seconds. My opponent would be winning in about 13 minutes here. So I could potentially just get this on 2 objectives. Granted, in the game, I don't have this UI. So this is only for spectators. So I didn't necessarily know. I kind of felt like I was pretty behind. I needed to be aggressive and get the 3rd objective. So that is going to be dictating the playstyle here a little bit. So Festus gathering up on the back point, and the Chaos Knights with Lances, only 500 value so far, but they're being quite useful. They're kind of like a ward unit. My opponent is kind of having to be very privy to their position. If Khorne were to send in like Fleshhounds and things like that, they would be able to counter them. And we haven't seen too many Fleshhounds from Hadri's, which is quite interesting. He did mention when we were in Discord chatting during this game, he's like, oh, where are my Fleshhounds? I think he didn't quite bring them in this army comp. So, it's been a little bit of a different style game. But granted, Chaos Knights would be able to deal with them okay. And I don't think Fleshhounds would have been amazing against my Nurgle kind of chosen combo anyways initially. But yeah, they're always a good unit. I think you always got to bring a couple Fleshhounds for sure. So value trading. Favoring Nurgle, no, favoring Khorne a little bit, but with healing taken into account, I'm probably still slightly ahead at getting my Exalted Hero as well as the Marauder Horseman, and just trying to keep all the the Khorne infantry away. So the Plague Bearers and the Marauders, just trying to keep them off the objectives. But this objective is looking a little bit bare bones here. I don't really have too much defending it. Festus kind of having to respond to the perpetual threat of the Minotaurs, which have been really problematic this game. And I think maybe summoning in the Exalted characters was a bit of a mistake. I figured they'd be okay at kind of clearing out some of these mass amounts of infantry, but seeing all the Minotaurs on the battlefield as well as Valkia, who's a hard counter to those type of characters, it's a little bit scary. So Horsemen charging in once again, just trying to keep them at bay while I muster some reinforcements. And the Exalted Hero of Nurgle's trying his best on the Chariot to fight against Valkia, which actually isn't a bad fight for him because Valkia is infantry size. So the bonus versus infantry on the Chariot does come into play there and really is not bad at all. So Chaos Knights waiting in the trees. Just trying to wait and see where my opponent's going to be committing most of his resources here as the Exalted Bloodletters as well as the Marauders look to be moving to Objective 3. In the backfield, we got Exalted Plague Bears and Nurglings coming in, so summoning the real meat of the army. And this is the problem with like Nurgle slow characters with Mortis engines and compared to like a Rotfly or even an Exalted Great Unclean One, which I think is a little bit faster than Festus is. He can be outmaneuvered on this map very easily, right? So he's able to maneuver away from wherever Festus isn't and really just get these objectives from me, which is very problematic. So we're going to try and maybe do a dive on his home objective. The Chaos Knights eyeing the prize, but the Minotaurs of Khorne are just kind of like an NFL middle linebacker mirroring the running back here, making sure they don't get in and sack the, running back gets in the open field. It's not a quarterback analogy and whatever. You guys get the point. Exalted Heroes, here they come. Going to be running into the Marauders. Valkia going for the kill. In retrospect, definitely should have charged Valkia with both of them. I think we end up doing that. Yeah, we can see you get some good damage on Valkia. She actually takes a bit. Another 200 damage there as the Exalted Heroes are able to kind of force her back. And the Chaos Knights going to be getting a square charge into the Marauder Horsemen throwing axes of Khorne and do drag down a couple. They're not known for their massive shock damage and speed, but they do have poison, which is pretty cool. And the Marauder Horsemen of Khorne are going to be pushed back into the Shadow Realm, while Valkia takes another 600 or 700 damage from that. And now the Chaos Knights are moving in. I figure it's time for a bit of an alpha strike here. Let's get all our Chaos Knights, let's get the remnants of our Horsemen, Plague Bears on their way up, and see if we can somehow wrestle this objective. While Nurglings are kind of cackling in the bushes, waiting to see if maybe they can seal this objective, we'll have to keep tabs on things. And now Festus has made it over here, and the capture weight is going to be going back for your boy Nurgle. But, you know, the points have been an issue for me this game. My opponent has had the caps for substantially longer, up to 940 to my 647, so I can't mess around for too much longer. I really do have to get a very solid double cap soon, or I'm for sure going to be losing this game. Even though I feel as if the value trading is in my favor with the two heroes and Festus being healthy, Chaos Knights on the battlefield, you can see how quickly we swing this objective. Khorne could easily just maneuver over here as well and potentially take this one and sacrifice some poor Nurglings. That was a big mistake. They're just going to get popped like popcorn by these Exalted Bloodletters, so that was really unfortunate. These things got about 1,400 value right now. And, you know, the little Nurglings, they got their claws out. They did some work. And look at this. Khorne with some really good sustained trading here. More Exalted Bloodletters on their way up. Marauder Horsemen and basic Marauders coming in the distance. We will see if my big boys, the Exalted Plague Bears, are going to be able to hold back against the tide here. We do have plenty of anti-infantry. Valkia the Bloody's very low, being beaten down by these Exalted characters as well as the Plague Bears here. As far as her HP goes, she's at about 600, so we might be able to get her. She's pretty slippery. Of course, very quick, not the most mass. I might have a little bit of a problem escaping the situation here. Chaos Knights did pull back, didn't want them getting Throwing Axe into Oblivion, and there are two Throwing Axes, and also the Exalted Bloodletters in steady combat will be able to cut through them pretty well. So I was trying to get Valkia, couldn't quite get her. I even used Glorious Rot. I was so desperate. I used my tier 3 Nurgle army ability to try and get that character down, but once again, I do lose the objective, which is so incredibly rough. So Chaos Knights on their way around, going to be charging into the Exalted Bloodletters of Khorne. That's pretty solid. Should be able to finish those guys off. You know, they're lightly armored. It's a big shock cav unit. They do also have poison, which will be lowering the stats of these units. But some of the Marauder Horsemen do pile in to help out. We'll see how the Chaos Knights trade. Nurgling's going to come in and try and snake the objective here, which currently is not being defended. So yeah, this map is really fun. I just love how quickly objectives just go back and forth, and it's just such a wild, like, Royal Rumble type map here. Exalted Plague Bears holding on, 1,500 value. Solid performance from them so far as the Exalted Heroes of Nurgle going to be coming in to try and help out against those Minotaurs with great weapons. Not a great fight, but somebody's got to get them down. And right now I think we have the Harbinger of Pestilence active, so the Mortis engine should be going, hitting the Horsemen, hitting those Exalted units over there. And this pitched fight in the forest, actually a pretty substantial one. The Chaos Knights haven't quite gotten 1,000 value, but bouncing around and getting decent charges on these Marauder Horsemen, picking off models where they can. And did we finish off the Exalted Bloodletters? It looks like the Chaos Knights did at least do that, allowing the Demon's Spew and the Nurglings to make a dive for the back objective of Khorne, while your boy Festus continues the Mortis engine and just grind on this objective, really. Minotaurs were indeed broken. We brought in two Marauder Horsemen and Throwing Axes, which I think are pretty balanced compared to the Javelin variant. Like, you have to be pretty close. Their DPS is good. Their Arc of Fires are a little bit easier to dodge, whereas Javelins kind of just always guarantee their value, basically. But in this particular matchup, obviously Throwing Axes are going to be very good with Minotaurs and my slow-moving targets from the perspective of Hadries. So we're starting to wrestle this one. He does have a couple infantry on the point. We see Marauders of Khorne, more Marauders here as well. and some horsemen. So he's got, close to 10 capture weight there. You can see it's pretty substantial. But the dreaded back cap here coming in as the demon spew and the Nurglings really looking to get up on this point, and we're having 10 plus capture weight, give or take. It's quite a bit. His horsemen are helping to minimize the rate at which the objective is captured, but I really need to get this one, guys. He's at 1,300 points. He's going to be winning in 1 minute and 37 seconds, so this is kind of do or die here, and you can see Hadrius does know this. He's going to be sending all these units onto the objective, and this was a big bummer. I was so close to getting it, and then Khorne flipped it. I was like, man, if I get that and then get the side objective, that could have been GG right there. Honestly, that could have been the deciding play. Because now the Minotaurs, and he's going to have time for reinforcements to come in. His throwing axes are going to be able to do very well in combat. And that's what's so awesome about Marauder Horsemen of Khorne, is that they have really good combat stats. So you could charge them into Nurglings, you could charge them into Forsaken, and they're going to do very well. So not getting that objective, guys, was a huge disaster now. I'm going to be getting over there pretty quickly. I'm bringing my Exalted Heroes over. Festus is basically on death's bed. He got Palpatine pretty good over here. He's at 700 HP, so he's just going to be chilling on this objective for now. Nurglings are rebolstering here, and I basically know it's do or die on this objective. If I get this objective, I have a decent chance of winning, but if I do not, that is going to be a big problem. And also, Festus having taken that damage was really bad. I basically got him tar pitted in a bunch of Minotaurs, and he got kind of beaten down pretty good there. So really need him healthy here, right? So the capture weight's going to be going for us once again. The Exalted characters trying to fight on the point, up to 1,200 value here and 725 on this one. So certainly not bad at all, as my Marauder Horsemen do move in, and they can fight the Khorne ones. They have 33 melee defense and poison and decent melee prowess as well, so they can totally fight them. So all the Horsemen going to be jumping on the point to try and get it, but Hadrius does have Minotaurs here, and Minotaurs of Khorne, after the cost reductions, the Minotaurs in general are just such a good unit, man. They're such linebackers and really have elevated Khorne from being like a 40% win rate faction to like a very solid, close to 50%. So pretty cool to see that. Festus on his way over. We're going to be trying to get this one, guys, but I don't know if we have the time. It's very close. Look at this. Oh my God, it's swinging. And if we get this and Festus gets there and gets that Mortis engine going, that is going to be so clutch. But the Harbingers of Doom are coming. The Exalted Bloodletters with 3,000 value are on their way out. And these things are going to be looking to get that point. But man, oh man, we do get it, guys. We get the triple cap. So now I just need to hold on to this point for as long as possible. But really, it's looking a little bit precarious. The Minotaurs of Khorne still have 12 models, still relatively healthy. Stream of Corruption coming down from your boy Festus. He's very low, guys. He's very low. And like all it's going to take from Hadrius is guard mode and all of his horsemen just targeting Festus. And yeah, there you go. He does that. Of course, seasoned tournament player here, not going to be messing about. But Festus, the Leech Lord here, does get access to the face, which was pretty brutal. And suddenly, this objective looks like it's going to be flipping. I do have some units coming from the back, but nothing terribly speedy. The Barons of the Bog are like the quickest thing I could muster. And maybe I should have brought these units from the side to go kind of buffer this off. That could have been potentially a play that might lose me the game, because they would give me additional capture weight, especially the Exalted Plague Bearers, even only at 50 models. But then that leaves this objective open to Khorne mobility. But in retrospect, maybe I should have brought him. We'll have to see if it matters here. Barons of the Bog, trying to hustle. As far as the objective capture weight goes, it is heavily favored for Khorne, as many of my units are being routed off, and Khorne is going to be getting the objective, ladies and gentlemen. My Forsaken do get in there. Nurgling's moving up, and Barons of the Bog going to be charging in, but I only have 50 seconds, and if I had another 2 or 3 minutes, I think I could get it. I got the Barons here. They'll be able to chew up most of these troops. Exalted Heroes are on their way back in, although in retrospect, maybe not. He does have the great weapons here, so they would be able to deal with the Barons of the Bog. So GG, well played, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to be a victory for the Blood God. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. Nurgle's got some teeth for sure, and that game seemed very evenly matched from a faction perspective. It just came down to the execution and character usage, allocation of resources on certain objectives, and me not quite playing the map quite as efficiently as I could have. But yeah, I think the Exalted Heroes were maybe not great. I wanted to experiment with Chaos Knights. They also seemed a little bit weak. Like, for that amount, you could get some really scary units out. But, dude, what a fun game. Well played to Hadrius. That was such a cool one. So back and forth. We both had each other triple capped at various points. It just got real sweaty and was super fun. Always a pleasure to play against him. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. See you on the other side. Taking a look at Nurgle's value real quick. Horsemen were very good. Chaos Knights a little bit lackluster as usual. Chosen, awesome. 1,200 on the one that got 3v1'd and 1,800 on the other one. I'm like, man, just give me another Chosen. Maybe that's the way to go. But pretty cool stuff. GG, well played. See you guys later. And that's it for tonight.